So, boys and girls, in the previous episode I was mentioning that I had spent about 850 euros for a bunch of obsolete, quirky, nerdy gadgets. But the story does not end there. Those are gadgets that I deem to be usable, collectible, of some sort of value and in a presentable fashion. Meaning they look rather good. But I have some slip-ups as well, because in this box of despair I get quite a lot of gadgets that are not actually in working condition. Now let me just start the second camera. So we are go now. Now bear in mind that here I also have some types of connectors and physical attachments to cameras and chargers and proprietary accessories for some model. So without any further ado, I'll just get out the things that I have purchased which I don't deem functioning or in a presentable manner, and which don't really have any place even in my rather lackluster collection. So let me just scrounge here for some more gadgets. There are quite a lot of them actually, and I'll tell the story of each and every one as brief as possible. So let's move them aside so I can film them with my other camera, my phone actually. Let's start off easy with this Nokia 6600. Now this is one of the first gadgets I purchased for this channel alone, and it only cost me about 5 euros or so, but it's a non-working unit, meaning it has some issues with some of the buttons. The back is badly scraped, the battery cover is a non-matching unit, and it's just worth nothing. Let me just try not to scratch the table here. So 5 euros thus far. This is a Siemens something or other, the C62. This only cost me about 3 euros or so, but I don't have a battery for it and it's not an interesting device. So 8 euros. This is a Nokia 3210. Now, I don't remember exactly how much I paid for it. I just know that it doesn't work. Let's call it quite a lot at 10 euros, so 18 euros. This one is a Philips phone, but it's not really that interesting at all. Let me just get it closer to the camera, and yeah. So this one is 2 euros, but it's not worth featuring because it doesn't really have any redeeming features, and plus it doesn't really turn on. So 20 euros thus far. Now this one, I really took I took a dive with this one. This was advertised by a seller online. This is a Lumix underwater camera, the FT something or other. The TS6. So this one was advertised as not working with a broken display, and I was fine with that because I had additional cameras to replace the display with. Sadly though, it's badly bent, and well, the battery cover does not close, and well, the seller conveniently forgot to mention that. So this is actually, I deem this an unrepairable unit. So I got this for 6 euros, which is not much, but I had to pay taxes and shipping, so that's 10 euros, 30 euros so far. This one, actually, this Sony is the Xperia entry level something or other. This is an Android phone which actually is in working condition. It does have issues with the SIM reader, but I have the replacement for it. This is not, I'll consider this as a bonus, not worth anything. This Nokia 8210. Now, even though this one does not have an original housing to it, well, the DX cover front is not original, the housing is. I had high hopes for this one. Sadly, I couldn't get it to work, so I paid around €5 for this, so €35 thus far. Another BlackBerry. This one is not expensive, but it's an unworking unit, or is it? I don't remember. That's how bad I got with these devices. Though it does have a cracked screen cover, meaning the glass itself. It's not a touchscreen unit, obviously, but yeah, I paid around €2 for this, so this is actually sort of a win. Though not an interesting device. Mind you, it does have sort of a working battery, even if a swollen one. So €32 thus far. Now for the trio of Nokias that I have previously mentioned in the functioning portion of my collection, and these ones I'll not add up to the cost since I have added them to the functioning gadgets that I have purchased. I believe I paid around €16 for the trio, which is not bad considering you can make a bunch of, well, at least two of them you can make them functioning, though they don't really look that good. So 35-ish euros thus far. And I have a duo of Nokia 6800 slides, I believe they're called. Now these are not bad looking phones per se, but they're not great either. So they're scuffed and dinged, both of them. They look okay-ish from a distance, but once you get closer you sort of realize they're not really worth saving. But they might be good for parts. One of them is okay, as in it's working fine. One of them has issues with some of the keys, but not bad. And I only have one battery cover, which is not in my possession right now. But really, it's too much of a hassle to make them work. I'll call these an even €15 because they weren't expensive and they sort of are interesting enough in their own way. So €50 thus far. The Lumix FX01, I believe this is the model, yes. And this, well, actually it's pretty scuffed and dinged, but only on the surface because this is a two-component paint system and really the paint degraded. I tried cleaning the gadget. I paid around €5 for this, which is not bad, but sadly I didn't get the battery for it to turn it on. Now I suspect this would turn on were I to possess a functioning battery, but sadly I purchased additional Lumix cameras which didn't solve the problem. So €5 for this, let's call it €60, give or take. For the FX1 added. I also bought a cheap LS unit which has a battery and I believe is a functioning unit, but it doesn't fit with any of my other Lumix cameras, which is sort of sad. No, this is not an LS, this is an FS8 camera. So €65, let's call it. Again, I had purchased an additional Lumix camera thinking I could use the battery from the FS model to this one, which, well, actually I don't have a charger. This might not be such a bad purchase after all, but it's not a great looking camera. I believe this is a functioning one. I'll get it closer to the screen, but still, I'm not impressed. And I paid something like €5, which is not bad as a well, it's not bad. I threw a pen there. It's not grime, it's just a pen. So all in all, I think €15, but let's call it an even €20 because I had to get to the flea market and spend money on fuel and so on. So it's not bad per se, but the issue is I didn't really get to create a proper content on these cameras. So that was again a dive for me. So €70 all in all. This Siemens phone, this S55, sorry about that. So I'll get it closer to the screen. I'll film it with my second camera as well. So this one, actually I purchased it for about €2. It is cracked and, well, it's not cracked, but the screws are unwound from it. I could fix it up a bit, but I just don't have the necessary parts to do so because I have a complete S55. I have another one for parts which I dismantled, but from the two of the dismantled units I didn't get to assemble a proper unit. So I just keep it for parts, considering how rare this is, and this hasn't really cost me anything, so I consider this a plus, though it's sort of a weight around my neck and shoulders because I don't really, sorry about that, I don't really have the courage to throw it away. I should do that because I'm never going to use it. But then again, I go back and think that these things are so rare that maybe for the parts it's still a salvageable unit. This is an all-view phone which I haven't paid anything for. I just featured it on the channel. It was one of my parents' phones, so it didn't really cost me anything. So all in all, I guess I'm about €70 in with these bunch of weird and obsolete gadgets. I'll just put them here so you can see them. With this Lumix TZ30, I really took a dive as well because, well, I sort of should have seen the writing on the wall. The dust cover doesn't close correctly over the lens, and this is a known issue for these later cameras, but I refuse to acknowledge that risk. And well, I paid around, not much, 35 lei, 6 or 7 euros. But again, it's an unusable camera. It has a working battery, but it doesn't fit any of my other cameras. So again, I'm sort of reluctant to throw it away, though I really should. So if you're holding tabs on this gathering of phones and weird quirky gadgets, so far I'm about at 80 euros or so. And again, I really bit the dust with this one. This is supposedly an S8 phone. When I purchased this, the seller promised me over an online selling platform that he will send me a plethora of Siemens phones along with this model, which all should be in working condition, and the pictures, well, actually they promised that as well. I wasn't really, I had a moment, a lapse of judgment, and also, well, actually I didn't have a lapse of judgment. I was screwed basically. So the seller promised one thing, he sent me a bunch less phones than he promised, and the ones he sent were not functioning. So really he took a huge swing at me and well, screwed me over. But well, sometimes that happens. So I don't know, I don't remember how much I paid for them all in all. It was way back in 2016 or so, but I sort of keep this as a memento. This was before making the YouTube channel. I always felt this as having potential, though looking at it now I can sort of see that It's not in a good condition at all. All in all, I would call this an even 100 euros. So as of right now, I'm looking at 950 euros spent on all of my gadgets, well, over the years, but I have more. So just to make it an even 1,000 euros, I have an S55 here, which is looking rather good, but sadly I don't really have a screen replacement for it. It has a cracked screen. This one was only, I believe, 2 euros, so this one actually I consider it a plus, but sadly I don't have the time to fix it. I will put it away, and well, I guess with the S55 as well, these might be still valuable one way or another. What I have here additionally is the Sony Ericsson K500 no, actually this is the K770 series, which I paid around 10 euros for. It's not looking good, but it's not looking that bad either, and it's fully functional, so this I'll place in the collection part of my gathering. So this one is still salvageable and worth something. I paid around 6 euros for this. And here I have, well, I only have the one, but I have an additional Dell. I have the duo of X51 and X51V, and this one has an extended battery, and well, seeing as I didn't have the original charging cable, I couldn't really film it. I tried filming it, but I couldn't really turn it on. I paid around 3 euros for this one, and well, being the stubborn idiot that I am, I also purchased the X51V without a charger, thinking that I could charge the slimmer battery with the universal charger and film them both, and well, end a chapter and come to some conclusion, get some closure. Sadly though, the other one has a charging battery, but it doesn't boot up. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the battery is too weak, maybe because the OS is somehow corrupted. I couldn't tell for sure, but the end of it all is that all in all, I spent around 1,000 euros on weird, quirky and obsolete gadgets. And really, if there's anything to get from this as a conclusion, is that, well, might sound a bit a bit straightforward and obvious, but YouTubing ain't easy. I plan to be the king of weird and quirky obsolete tech stuff, the anachronistic guy, you know, sort of like this. I love that channel. It's called LGR, the Lazy Game Reviews. That's the guy I admire in terms of what these things represent. I think that guy is one of the greatest YouTubers of all time. He has that leisurely way of presenting things. He makes fun of things, but he does that in a good sense. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is I might be getting rid of some of my gadgets, either by selling them or giving them away, or swapping them, or doing some sort of exchange with other passionate guys, girls, if I can find any. So if you feel you're interested by all these things, you could give me a message, and I'm willing to ship them even overseas. If maybe you can help me out with some, with some other types of gadgets of your own, or other types of content creation. As for these rather disappointing looking non-functioning gadgets, well, there's there's a time for fighting and there's a time for resignation. And what I'm gonna do with these ones, I don't want to give them away because nobody's gonna save them, they're not that valuable. I'm going to destroy them, and I'm going to try to do so responsibly and film that process, and hopefully at the end I'll get rid of this constant desire, this pathologic almost urge, yearning to just gather up and hoard weird, quirky tech stuff. So yeah, there's a New Year's message resolution for you. Stop gathering old junk, and if you want some of these phones, except for the IPAX, Siemens and Lumix cameras, they're available. Just give me a hit and be reasonable about the postage, taxes. I don't really want anything in return in terms of money or any other benefits. It would be nice if somebody could help me grow the channel with other weird, quirky, obsolete tech stuff that I don't have and would like to film, or maybe you have some other proposals. I'm open to discussion. In the meantime, I'll be trying to create additional content, but I will be changing my pace and my style, hopefully. So, thanks for watching. And remember, I'm going to be trying not to collect and hoard weird, quirky, obsolete tech stuff in 2024. And that is my New Year's resolution. So see you in the next one. Bye bye.